His B-17 was on fire at 20,000 feet. He put it out with his bare hands. Somewhere over the English Channel, a B-17 Flying Fortress is engulfed in flames. Fire rips through the fuselage, smoke billows in thick black clouds, and ammunition is detonating randomly, sending shrapnel in every direction. 3 crewmen have already bailed out, and 2 others lie wounded, their blood mixing with the burning debris of the plane. The aircraft is screaming through the sky, battered by German anti-aircraft fire and enemy fighters, a deadly storm in the air. Amid all this chaos stands the only man left capable of taking action, a 5'6" staff sergeant nobody wanted to fly with. His name is Maynard Smith. Nicknamed Snuffy, this is his first combat mission, and he has 90 minutes to save the aircraft while everyone else depends on him for survival. The pilots cannot help, trapped in the cockpit and cut off by walls of fire. Most of the gunners are either dead, wounded, or drifting somewhere in the channel. It's just Snuffy alone, surrounded by fire, smoke, and bullets, fighting for the lives of 10 men on a plane that could explode at any moment. What happens next will go down in history. Maynard Smith will become the first enlisted airman to ever receive the Medal of Honor, a distinction only a handful would achieve during World War II. But here's the ironic part. When the Secretary of War flew to England to present him with the medal, they couldn't find him. He was in the kitchen, peeling potatoes, punished for being late to a briefing. This is the story of the hero nobody liked, the man who became more than his flaws on one fateful day. Early life. Maynard Harrison Smith was born on May 19, 1911 in Cairo, Michigan. His father was a successful attorney, respected in his community, and his mother was a schoolteacher who valued discipline and education. By small-town standards, the Smiths were wealthy, and Maynard knew it. From an early age, he showed signs of being a spoiled and entitled child, the type who believed that rules were written for everyone else, not him. He developed a reputation for being clever but lazy, rebellious but strangely charming. He was the kind of boy who could talk his way out of almost anything, and yet his cleverness often landed him in trouble. His parents tried to discipline him by sending him to a military academy in Indiana, a strict boarding school designed to straighten out difficult boys. But it didn't work. He graduated with the same mischievous arrogance, fully convinced of his own intelligence and charm. After school, Maynard drifted between jobs, including positions at the U.S. Treasury Department and the Michigan Banking Commission. Nothing held his attention for long. In 1929, he married, only to be divorced by 1932. By 1934, his father passed away, leaving him an inheritance. Maynard decided to live off this money, avoiding work and responsibility. He became a 30-something man coasting through life, convinced he was smarter than everyone else around him. Eventually, the money began to dwindle. In 1942, Maynard faced legal trouble for failing to pay child support. A judge offered him a choice: prison or military service. Snuffy, ever pragmatic, chose the Air Force, not to serve his country, not out of patriotism, but because it was a better alternative to jail. Joining the Air Force. The U.S. Air Force was in desperate need of aerial gunners. These men manned the machine guns on B-17 bombers, a job considered one of the most dangerous in the entire military. The life expectancy of a bomber gunner over Europe was terrifyingly short, but the role also came with automatic promotions to non-commissioned officer rank, better pay, and a degree of status that appealed to Snuffy's self-interest. Maynard volunteered for gunnery school, not for glory, but for the promise of money and promotion. Upon completion, he was shipped to England and assigned to the 423rd Bombardment Squadron, 306th Bomb Group, at RAF Thurley in Bedfordshire. His arrival did not go unnoticed. Within days, Snuffy had alienated almost every airman at the base. He was insubordinate, obnoxious, and openly convinced of his own superiority. Despite being 32, he had no combat experience, red eyes from too many late nights, and a personality that grated on everyone. He was small, 5'6", 130 pounds, flat-footed, with an attitude that rubbed veterans the wrong way. The airmen quickly gave him a nickname, Snuffy, after a lazy, shiftless comic strip character who lived life on his own terms. The name stuck. For 6 long weeks, he sat at Thurley while other airmen flew mission after mission, often shorthanded rather than taking him along. Snuffy was unpopular, and his reputation preceded him everywhere. The mission. On May 1, 1943, Staff Sergeant Maynard Smith received his first combat assignment, serve as ball turret gunner on a B-17 Flying Fortress. The target was Saint-Nazaire, France, a heavily defended German submarine pen. For the American bomber crews, this was one of the most dangerous missions in Europe. The other crew members were seasoned veterans. Smith was the only rookie. The B-17 formation crossed the English Channel under overcast skies. The mission to Saint-Nazaire went smoothly, with minimal resistance over the target. The bombs were dropped, and the planes began their journey home. 2 hours later, disaster struck. Due to a navigational error, the lead navigator misidentified the coastline. The crew thought they were over England, but they were still over enemy territory, specifically Brest, France, another heavily fortified German stronghold. The formation descended to 2,000 feet, thinking the mission was nearly complete. Then, German anti-aircraft batteries opened fire. Fighters scrambled to intercept. The B-17 carrying Snuffy Smith took the brunt of the assault. Fuel tanks were punctured, the radio compartment erupted in flames, oxygen systems were destroyed, and vital control cables were severed. Snuffy's ball turret lost power, leaving him trapped beneath a blazing aircraft. Trapped in the fuselage, Snuffy Smith faced absolute chaos. Flames spread uncontrollably, smoke choked the cabin, and ammunition cooked off, exploding unpredictably. 3 crewmen made a desperate decision and bailed out into the channel, never to be seen again. The tail gunner, Sergeant Roy Dibson, was critically wounded. The pilots were trapped in the cockpit, cut off from communication, and unable to help. For 90 minutes, Snuffy fought a three-front battle. He administered first aid to the tail gunner, stopping bleeding and keeping him alive. He grabbed fire extinguishers, battling flames that threatened the aircraft's fuel tanks. When extinguishers ran out, he used blankets, clothing, and eventually his own urine to smother the fire. He manned the left and right waist guns, firing at attacking German fighters, constantly moving between firefighting and combat. He threw exploding ammunition boxes overboard, stripped away burning debris, and worked tirelessly to keep the plane airborne. The heat was unbearable, and shrapnel flew past him as rounds cooked off. Through sheer willpower and determination, Snuffy Smith held the bomber together, keeping everyone alive while the plane limped across the English Channel toward safety. Landing and recognition. Finally, the crippled B-17 reached England. An emergency landing was attempted at Prainac Airfield in Cornwall. The aircraft touched down, then broke in half due to fire damage and structural weakness. Snuffy Smith emerged from the wreckage, soot-covered, burned, but alive. So was the tail gunner and the rest of the crew. The plane had over 3,500 bullet holes and shrapnel impacts. The story spread quickly. The Army Air Forces saw a propaganda opportunity. Snuffy, the rookie nobody wanted, had single-handedly saved his crew and a burning bomber while under enemy fire. On July 15, 1943, the Secretary of War came to present the Medal of Honor. But Snuffy was nowhere to be found. He was in the kitchen, on KP duty, peeling potatoes as punishment for being late. Eventually, he was cleaned up and rushed to the ceremony. Maynard Harrison Snuffy Smith became the first enlisted airman to receive the Medal of Honor in the European theater, a distinction only 4 others would achieve during the war. The press celebrated him, and his heroism became a symbol of courage under fire. Post-war life and legacy. After the war, Snuffy Smith's life remained turbulent. He faced legal troubles, business failures, and personal challenges. He remarried, had 4 children, and tried multiple ventures, including working again at the Treasury Department. Despite his post-war difficulties, he never denied his actions on May 1, 1943. Maynard "Snuffy" Smith died on May 11, 1984, in St. Petersburg, Florida, at the age of 72. He is buried in Arlington National Cemetery, among presidents and generals. His story reminds us that heroism does not care about personality or past mistakes. It only cares about what you do when everything is falling apart. Snuffy Smith became exactly what was needed at exactly the right moment. The soldier nobody wanted, who saved everyone aboard his aircraft. For 90 minutes over the English Channel, Snuffy Smith battled fire, German fighters, and chaos to save his crew in their plane. His bravery shows that heroism is not about perfection. It's about action in the face of overwhelming danger. If you were amazed by Maynard "Snuffy" Smith's courage and want to hear more unbelievable stories of heroism from history, hit that like button and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that will leave you speechless.